Yes. So today I'm going to talk about if I could only choose one business model, what would it be? So, I started my accounting and bookkeeping business back in 2015, and it was after trying a lot of different things, right? So I had tried having a senior citizen, fitness program. I had done e-commerce. I did like a food delivery service. I did a Amazon store. I did a cold calling agency. I did a web design company. I did a social media marketing agency. Like I tried so many different business models in order to like make money both online and in the physical world. So it wasn't always just making money online. It was whatever I could make money with and do was what I wanted to do because I didn't really want to work a full-time job. I had seen too many videos online where, people like Tony Robbins or Grant Cardone were saying like, you could do this for yourself, you can make as much money as possible. And I was like, oh, wow, I don't have to like settle for, working a long time in a corporation and, not liking life, not enjoying life, not really being able to live life on my own terms. Because I had seen, just people, just like, from uncles, from my mom, from my dad, going to work every day to a job where, you maybe tolerate it, maybe you tolerate the people, but, there's always something you don't like about it. And missing a lot of time with family, not really being able to have the relationships that you want, with your family. Like I just didn't want that for my life. Not to say there's anything wrong with that, right? Like if that's the life that you've been living up to this point, it's not that it's bad or that it's wrong. It's just that life could be a little bit better, especially if you're watching something like this video. Now, that might not necessarily be just a financial like better, you might be doing really well financially, right? But there's always something we can improve in our life if we can go and get more freedom, more time, right? So for whatever your reasons are for watching this video, whatever your reasons are for wanting to start a business, I totally commend you. I'm excited to, give you more information and teach you more about like, what's worked for me, and maybe you can utilize some of the stuff to be able to help yourself. Also, if you ever want to, have personalized help from myself, customized and personalized help to be able to go and reach your goals, I invite you to click the link inside the description to book a call with me to see if our mentorship program can help you out. Okay. So let's kind of dive into this thing a little bit deeper. So I'm not going to say exactly which business model to do. I'm going to just give you the characteristics of a business model. Then in the end, we can kind of talk about like which are my favorite business models based on these characteristics. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go from top to bottom instead of bottom to top. So what do I mean by that? So I'm going to go in like what is like the service level characteristic or factor that's most important for like a beginner all the way down to like an advanced kind of individual. Or intermediate individual, depending what you consider advanced. Like, you could be making what, 10, 20K a month. And are you really advanced? No, because like there's people like Elon Musk that are making like, $1 trillion a year or whatever. You might not be doing $1 trillion at the point of this video, but it's pretty soon they might be. So cool. So let's go and attack this thing. So number one, high ticket price. Okay. So one problem that a lot of we call them pseudo business models or side hustles have is that they're always like some like really, really low dollar secret underground hack, and you're trying to exploit a inefficiency in the market. What do I mean by that? So let's say it's like e-commerce drop shipping. Oftentimes you're doing a lot of research to find a very specific product that no one's either selling, or your competition is like a very, very low price, or your competition has not really positioned properly to get the number of sales that are needed in order for it to make a lot of money. So you're looking and constantly trying to find where is an inefficiency. This person is selling this pen online, but if I sold this pen in purple online and I doubled the price point of it and I learned how to go and make a better quality ad, then I go and make more and more money. Problem is, a pen can only go so high. Like even the most expensive pens in the world. Well, I'm not gonna say most expensive in the world, but let's say like a Mont Blanc pen. It's like between 120 to like $400, and like that's not terrible, right? But I'm gonna kind of talk about something in point number two. But at the end of the day, it's only 120 bucks. It's only 300 bucks, and that's one of the top pen brands in the world. You're probably not gonna get $400 for your random um random pen that you like have a cursive logo and cursive name for. It just isn't going to happen, right? So if you're always doing business models where it's a low price point, not only number one, you're not going to really get that prestige in your brand. Number two, you're not going to be able to make a high revenue very easily, okay? Because it takes a million sales to go and make any significant amount of money. Now, why is that a bad thing? So, in order to make a lot of sales, you have to be very good at either organic marketing or paid advertisements. Now, the problem with paid ads is that if your item that you sell does not make a large enough amount of money, you're not going to be profitable with your ads in most cases. What do I mean by that? So, if every single time that I get a sale, it costs me, we'll say $10, and I'm selling something for like maybe like 11 or $15. One challenge is that if I go a single day without making a sale, now I'm negative in my ads because okay, so day one I spend $10 to go get one sale. Day two I spend another $10, I make zero sales. Day three, I go and make a second sale. Okay, so we basically have taken 3 days, we have made 30, we have spent 30. Okay, we're break even. If on the fourth day I spend another $10 and I don't make any sales, well now I'm negative again. So now it's, $30 in revenue, but it's like $40 in spend. And you're so close to that edge that if you don't understand advertisers, you don't have enough price point on that, it's very easy to either break even or go negative. So oftentimes what a lot of these like e-commerce companies have to do is they have to get people to buy two or three items. So every customer has to buy two or three items. If every customer only buys one item, which most beginners, only know how to do, you're not going to make it work. Verse, so it's not a really beginner model. Like a low ticket thing is not a beginner model. Just because your costs, because it's hard to get people to buy multiple things, you have to get better in order to make it work, right? Versus, let's say that it costs you $500 to get a client, and every time you get a client within the next like 12 months, you get $6,000. Super cool, super easy, right? But it's not necessarily like it's not that the math changed, it's just the thing you sold was more valuable. So it made it easier for you to make money. Okay. Really what you're looking for is you need between 3,000 to about 10K per year. That that's a sweet spot. Like that is the sweet spot. Now that's between 300 to about $900 a month or whatever you're selling. If you can get that, you're good. Hmm. You're good. This can be stuff like tax planning, bookkeeping, SMMA, coaching, right? So that narrows down a lot of different things. That can be like legal, financial advising. If you start to know, if you start to notice, all of this starts to go more traditional businesses. Let's say life insurance. All these become traditional businesses, right? So it's like a lot of the times what's going to happen is you're going to see these things online. They're going to be like side hustles, like publish a Kindle book for, and like you're selling your Kindle book for like $7. Go try doing an e-commerce thing. Go drop ship on Amazon. Go do Amazon FBA. Go have an online bookstore. It's just not going to make enough money for you to really work, right? So it's going to like start narrowing it down. So really, if you can do a traditional business, but you do an online methodology, you're going to make a lot more money a lot easier. Next thing, okay? So these are the top for this. Let's say a second thing that's most important, recurring revenue. Okay. So, why is this important? So every time you get a client, it takes a tremendous amount of energy. Now, in the beginning of your business, you have a lot of enthusiasm. You're like, oh my gosh, I love business. I love this. This is amazing. This is all I want to do 24/7. You're obsessed. But after, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years in the game, you start really getting irritated when you have to work a lot. Same thing with the job, right? When you first got on the job, you were excited. You want to prove yourself. You want to go and do a bunch of stuff. But as your career like kind of, unfolds, you're like, "Ooh, I'm over this," right? So what's going to happen is in your business, if by the time you get over this thing and you're no longer as enthralled or enchanted with it, you're going to have a lot of trouble marketing on your own. So what that leads to is you're going to be adding to your expenses by bringing on like a virtual assistant or someone who wants to do the marketing for you, right? So now your price points can be lowered. Your results are not going to be as high because they don't know your market. You have to teach them a bunch of stuff, and it just doesn't really work. Instead, if you can get, let's say, X per, sorry, those the slash is the per month, every month, you only do marketing one time. Versus, let's say it's a coaching business, right? You have like or a course. You sell that course. Once the person has completed the course, if you've done a good job, then in a lot of cases, they have, they have met whatever goal that they have. So there's not really like a lot of things you could upsell them with. You're not gonna be like, hey, do you want to do that same course again? It's like it doesn't make sense because they already learned the information inside the course. There are ways you can get recurring revenue with a coaching business. I'm not saying there's not, but I'm just saying on average, right, if you do a really good job, in most cases they're not going to do your second program. You might have let's say you have a great secondary program, you might get like 20% of people, anywhere between 10 to 20% of people to be upsold and get some recurring revenue. Okay, cool. It's not a problem. But for 90% of people, you're always having to go get more and more and more and more and more. Now, for someone like myself, that's not a really big deal because I have systems that go out and do more and more and more and more and more for me. So I don't really have to go and be like hunting. But, you know, I've spent a lot of money on courses, consulting, mentors, spent like 160, 170K on this stuff. Uh, but if you don't have that, then you need a business model that has recurring revenue without necessarily having to develop super intense marketing skills. Right. So now what's actually being, brought down is going to be, we'll say SMMA, we'll say bookkeeping, we'll say financial advising, life insurance. You notice, if you notice what businesses are starting to like are popping out at us, right? Bookkeeping, social media marketing agency. It's just basically a marketing agency. It just happens to be like social media now. Like you could do the same thing with Google ads. You can do the same thing with like YouTube. You can do the same thing with like um banner ads. You can do the same thing with like say business card advertising, mailers, etc. Right? But these are they're like the oldest businesses, the oldest ones for a reason because they get that recurring revenue. So it allows average people with maybe a higher level of skill set because they've like, mastered a craft or they understand some sort of skill. It allows them to be able to keep making money and money and money and money, 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 money over time. Right. So they have the freedom. Now, another reason too, let's say number three, can do from anywhere. This is great because then you can start going on vacations. Half the reason why people start a business is so they can travel more. That's some people, not everyone. I know some people don't like to travel. I live in a place that can get pretty cold sometimes. So when it gets cold, I like to go and travel. Sometimes I like going and seeing the world. Sometimes there are a lot of different events that are going on in different states or different countries, and I like going and seeing those. So if I every single time I had to travel, I had to tell someone, or I had to pause, or I couldn't get paid, or I had 50,000 clients yelling at me, it wouldn't be fun. So you have to have a business model that is has a very low demanding client. That's key. That is very, very key. Um, so what happens now? Bookkeeping, financial advising, life insurance. So they both, all three of them actually passed. Especially like insurance. Yeah, that one. Anything you can actually sell with the phone too. So bookkeeping is good. You can sell over the phone, but as long as you have like a Zoom connection, it's pretty good. The one that I think these two are actually tied in terms of you can do it from anywhere because insurance you can do from anywhere, but you still need a computer. Same thing with bookkeeping. Like you could theoretically like have all the workflow set up on your phone, but you usually need like a laptop. So as long as you have a laptop, you can go anywhere in the world. Okay. Now this is super important. I just can't stress that enough. If you're tied to one location, if you can't do something, if you don't have control, it's not going to work. Next thing, four, scalability. So we did step one, added scalability, right? Next thing is you need to be able to scale fulfillment instead of having to scale marketing workflow. Without scaling marketing team overhead. Why is this? It's because salespeople are very hard to train. Number one, and it doesn't make sense for you to have a down month. They get paid and you don't get paid. That's very, very annoying. If that happens over a number of time, you get fire them. Generally what you're gonna find as well with like online like marketing teams or marketing agencies, a lot of these people are like fly by night individuals. So it's like they don't think in terms of a professional mindset. Rather than think like they're working for you, in a lot of cases they think that they're like your partner or something. It's like I had to tell this guy the other day. I just brought a new person to like manage my messaging for one of my businesses, right? So on social media we message people to get them to give us money. And this dude started trying to give me like a bunch of random piece of advice that was like, bro, we already thought about that 3 years ago. It's like I like he kept like asking, well, have we thought about this? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? I'm like, bro, what I hired you to do is send messages. Like after you send some messages and after you go and hit a certain standard and after you've proven that you can do the thing we hired you to do, now I can give you more responsibility. But it's like, don't give me a bunch of random stuff and you haven't even sent a single message and you're 2 days into this job that was strictly about messaging. It's like, dude, marketing bros, man. Online marketing bros. Versus when you're scaling fulfillment with like we'll say like a bookkeeping business, um, you have a commoditized, come on, commodit. I can't spell that. Just say that. Commoditized yet professional and skilled um workforce. What do I mean by that? So oftentimes bookkeepers and usually bookkeeping and accounting, they don't really know how to price their services. So usually what's going to happen is they're going to be either pricing their service too low, or if they're working for you, willing to take a lower price than what they otherwise should be charging. So your job is like, don't try and take advantage of people, but kind of give them a little bit more than what they want. But be okay with like, if you're making, let's say like $70 per hour and they're only asking for like $30 per hour, excuse me, that's okay. You're not taking advantage of them. I'd probably give them like 35, maybe like $40 per hour, depending on like your margins, depending on like what everything looks like. But you give them a little bit more, so they're gonna stay a little bit loyal to you. But the money they make is a direct byproduct of the work and income they bring in for your company on a month-to-month basis. I don't want to have something where it's like, okay, so I don't want to have some gray area. Gray area means that with marketing, sometimes what happens is like you can have multiple systems that are causing success or causing failure. And it's very unclear which aspect or element is actually the one that's driving the business. So let's go back to that marketing example with the marketing bureau. So there could be some months where this person will bring in, will a client comes and like signs up with you. You go back to your analytics, you see they either came from like your YouTube, they came from your LinkedIn, or maybe like if you have Facebook, they came from your Facebook. You credit YouTube. But then your marketing bro comes and said, "Hey, I messaged this guy like 2 months ago. He ignored me completely. And I see on LinkedIn you've also messaged a guy for the past 2 years, but all of a sudden they signed up. So who gets the credit? Is the marketing bro that talked to the guy one time 2 months ago and got ignored? Is it your LinkedIn that's been messaging the person for the last like 2 years? Is it YouTube that actually got the person to fill their form and like work with you? Who is it? Right? So in a lot of cases, each one of your mechanisms are getting credited for this thing, but it's not completely accurate. So you could be underperforming 1 month in terms of like your sales guy or YouTube could be underperforming, and you don't really know that in a lot of cases. So what happens is you are actually paying in some cases for something that didn't actually produce a result. And it's like a death by a thousand cuts because as your organization gets bigger and bigger and bigger, you get more and more of these instances where two people are claiming that they got a result, and now you're having to give like either double the commission, so your expenses are more, or you just don't really know is this person good at what they do or not, right? Versus when you have a scalable fulfillment, you can see black or white. They either did the work or they didn't do the work. And if they did the work and the person keeps paying, you are seeing a direct amount of money in relation to what's being paid out. And it just makes more sense, right? So you can keep taking on more and more and more work, but rather than like you having to like pay for all these just random stuff, you have a very scalable fulfillment team that's going to be doing it for you. And they can handle, in some cases, 40 hours worth of work if you can give it to them and you can give it to them at a price that is worth their while, right? So it's just like it just makes more sense to do that versus having to like go pay a marketing team 12 grand per year on top of commission. If they bring in zero sales, they still get 12 grand, they still get 15, 20, 30 grand, right? So it's just like versus for fulfillment, if they have nothing to do, there's no work to do, right? So they just don't get paid for that work. So the only thing that's really going to make there, it's going to be bookkeeping. It's going to be bookkeeping. It's going to be the main thing. Right. So that's because it's not fine advising is sales driven. So not that. Insurance, sales team driven. It's almost entirely sale. So it has to be bookkeeping. That's why there's one business model I would choose to start with. It would be bookkeeping. Once you get there, then you start adding on these other services and going from this bottom area all the way up. So you start with scale, fulfillment, up to high ticket. Once you are experienced, you go bottom to top. If that makes sense. So when you're starting out, you go this way. When you're experienced, you can go this way. So for your first business, I would definitely do bookkeeping. Makes it very, very simple. Just learn the skill set of bookkeeping. If you've already been doing it in your job, you don't need to learn it. We can kind of get you up to speed with like how to use a different software. Now, if you want some help being able to implement some of these different things inside your business, you want to make sure like maybe you've never done bookkeeping before and you want to learn so you can start bringing on like clients and start really making this industry the one that gives you your first million or your next million in business. Go ahead and click the link inside the description above or below the video. Book a call with myself. Let's see if we can help you inside of a mentorship program. Okay. I will talk to you soon. Have a good rest of your day. Take it easy.